Hello class, Jenna Maisto here. During this video, we'll be talking about the intramembranous ossification process. So there are 4 stages, and there is an illustration embedded just below this video that I would like you to follow along with. It has images and labeling of each step, and I'll be briefly showing the images, but since the wording on it and the labels are mirrored, they're backwards, it would be better if you follow along to the illustration down below. So just a recap, intramembranous ossification is where compact and spongy bone is developed, and that is directly developed by sheets of the mesenchymal cell with tissue, which is connective tissue. So for this first step, we have the mesenchymal cells clustering together and the ossification center forms. So if you look at that first image, you'll see it labeled. So right here is where the ossification center is, this whole yellow part. That is where the ossification center forms, and that is the mesenchymal cells right here. And they're all clustering together, and they form this right here. Now, what is this right here? So if you remember, we talked about the mesenchymal cells differentiating into specialized cells, such as the osteoblasts and the osteoids. So this is the osteoblast, which is the blue, and we have the osteoids, which is the blue dots. So the mesenchymal cells, they differentiate into specialized cells, which is the osteoblasts and the osteoids. We have the osteoblasts, which are this blue dot and the yellow, and then we have the little dots right here, and those are secreted by the osteoblasts, and that's the osteoids. So that is the first step of intramembranous ossification. The ossification center forms by the clustering of the mesenchymal cells. So if you can take a look at stage 2. Stage 2 is when the bone matrix, the osteoids, they trap the osteoblasts, which then in turn, those trapped osteoblasts, if you can see in the center, becomes osteocytes. Osteoblasts, when they begin to secrete osteoids, it begins to mineralize within a few days, and that's what causes them to become trapped. So if we look at the image here, we see something familiar from the first stage, which we have the blue, which is the osteoblasts, the secreted osteoids right here, and then we have the trapped osteoblast, which are now osteocytes. So these are the trapped ones in the center. So that is step 2 of intramembranous ossification. We have the bone matrix, the osteoids, are secreted within the fibrous membrane, and that causes them in turn to become, the osteoblasts to in turn become osteocytes. Next, if you can look at stage 3, it's when woven bone and the periosteum form. Now, I wrote a definition of periosteum, which is the dense layer of vascular connective tissue enveloping the bones. So if you can look at the image right here, we have the mesenchymal condensing to the periosteum. So now they don't look like the image in stage 2 or stage 1. Okay, you had stage 1 where there was a few of the mesenchymal cells clustering together, and then you had stage 2, which you still saw those strands in the images, and now you don't see those strands, you just see the mesenchymal cells condensing into the periosteum. Now this part right here is the trabecular matrix, which is the woven bone. So as you can see, I'm not a good drawer, but this is supposed to be on the outside, and it kind of looks like something that's woven. You have something on the inside, something on the outside, different layers. So right here is the trabecular. And then the red is the blood vessels going through. So that is stage 3, which is the trabecular matrix and periosteum form. Now in stage 4, the compact bone develops superficially to the trabecular bone, and crowded blood vessels condense into red marrow. So if you look at stage 4, we see that the periosteum does not look like stage 3. Okay, the mesenchymal cells turned into periosteum, and now we have striated lines right here that are now the fibrous periosteum. We have in the center here, this is the spongy bone, and that is the cavities that contain the red marrow. We have the outside layer, the yellow part. This is the plate of the compact bone. And we still have on the outside here those yellow dots, which, if you can remember, are the osteoblasts on the outside. So that is stage 4. So let me run through all the stages. So we have stage 1, the mesenchymal cells group into clusters and the ossification center forms. We have stage 2, where secreted osteoids trap the osteoblasts and then they become osteocytes. We have stage 3, the trabecular matrix and the periosteum form. And lastly, stage 4 is where compact bone develops superficially to the trabecular bone and crowded blood vessels condense into red marrow. Those are the 4 stages of intramembranous ossification. So in the next video, we'll be talking about the next ossification process, which is endochondral ossification. So stick around.